Hello interwebs, it's Scott from Admiralty Entertainment here, and today we are taking a look at Star Wars The Black Series Luke Skywalker Jedi Master. As seen in the final moments of Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens, possibly to be seen in the opening moments of Star Wars Episode 8 The Last Jedi, released on Force Friday 2, that's the 1st of September 2017, unless you somehow managed to get it a smidge early like I did. Now this is a 6-inch action figure, of course. This figure was actually released a little bit earlier as part of an exclusive 2-pack with both this Luke and also Jedi Training Rey, who's also released in this first series of The Last Jedi Black Series, which will be released on Force Friday. So there's a little bit of opportunity to get them a smidge earlier than everybody else in mass retail, but from everything we were told, this is exactly the same figure, so if you weren't able to get to San Diego Comic-Con, you're not missing out on anything by getting them at the time that everybody else can. Now this Luke does come in the standard Black Series packaging. Nice big window box there with the red coloured accent. Black and grey and red colour scheme there. The little grayscale portrait of Luke on the side there. And red writing there so you can see that it is Luke Skywalker Jedi Master. Now, Jedi Master Luke is number 46 in the Black Series, as you can see on the left-hand side of the box, which is just the straight red right the way up and down, apart from that little bit of text at the top there. Very standard, nothing different about that from pretty much all the Black Series releases since The Force Awakens. The right-hand side of the box has this big Luke Sky, plus Luke Skywalker in red there, just so you can help tell who it is that you've purchased. Back of the box reiterates that he's number 46. There's this little bit of a bio here, and of course a bigger copy of the grayscale portrait. Multiple languages for the bio, and then a whole bunch of legalese. So here's Luke out of the box, and yeah, he looks fairly cool. Certainly does look like what we saw in Star Wars The Force Awakens, that final scene. And yeah, he's going to be good for that. We don't know how much he's going to be wearing this outfit in The Last Jedi, but at the very least you've got him as he probably appears at the start of that film. Luke comes with a soft goods cloak here, which you can see is similar to what he was wearing at the end of The Force Awakens. Now the bottom of the cloak does get a bit sort of messed up here inside the package. You may want to iron your action figure before wearing it. Otherwise, if you want to have it add to that sort of hermity, not looking after himself very well look, then that works fine too. Now the cloak is very definitely soft goods, and it is a cloak, it is not a Jedi robe. There are no sleeves for him to put his arms through or anything like that, so it's kind of tricky when you want to put the hood down but still have it on him. There's no way for it to attach to the figure itself. You can just kind of drape it over his shoulders or try to stick it in between his hair and his neck. It doesn't sit particularly well. There's a long thread, in my version at least, which looks like you could almost put it around his neck, but it's a really, really, really long thread, so you'd need to loop it over multiple times, and even then I don't know how secure it'd be on there. The head sculpt is pretty cool. It looks mostly like Mark Hamill from what we saw of him in The Force Awakens. Either that or Dan Harmon, creator of Community and Rick and Morty. So if you're looking for a Dan Harmon custom, this is probably a good place to start.
Now if you'll excuse me, I've got pancakes back home with syrup on top of them. They're about to hit that critical point of syrup absorption that turns the cakes into a gross paste. And I hate to get all Andy Rooney about it, but I think we all like fluffy discs of cake with syrup on top. So as they say in Canada, peace, ooh!
The body is quite nicely sculpted. You can see the sort of white version of his Death Star uniform underneath these Jedi robes. So it does look like a good fusion of Luke as we last saw him in Return of the Jedi, with the more traditional Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of look. Good sort of actiony belt there, with a little pocket. And you can see that he does have a little lightsaber hilt holder there. He does not include any lightsabers though, so whether you're supposed to put on the lightsaber that comes with most Rey figures nowadays, or one of those old ones like the Return of the Jedi one, who knows. Hopefully he'll have a lightsaber in the movie, but the action figure is sans weaponry at all. If you split apart the sides of his Jedi robes, you can see that the legs have a sort of wrapping on them, kind of reminiscent of his old Tatooine farm boy look. This is a unique sculpt, however. It is not a reuse of the 40th anniversary / Black Series farm Luke. They are completely different molds there. As far as articulation, on the head we have a decent ball joint. A little bit of side-to-side waggle there, not much. A little bit of up and down, but again, better on the down than on the up. The hair at the back will be blocking quite a bit there. The shoulder articulation gets you pretty much all the way out there. The swivel there is a little bit impeded by the shoulder of his robes here. You have to move the arm out to be able to get that rotation around, but you can of course still do a 360 there. He has the standard elbow bend and swivel, and on his right hand we do of course have this robo hand, which is presumably his hand from Empire Strikes Back, with all the fleshy bits worn off over the years. The hand does have articulation, moving out and back in again, though the ability to move in is kind of blocked again by the cuff on his robes there. The alternate hand has the same in and out articulation, so neither of these wrists has the up and down. The plastic of the Jedi robes in the sort of skirt section do hinder the forward and backward movement. You can move them of course, but you're going to have to bend that skirt section. The legs do still have decent outward articulation there. We do have a rotation at the top of the thigh there, as well as double jointed knees, and of course a good old rocker ankle with not much forward motion, but reasonable amount of backwards. As you can see, this little clip on the side here is perfect for putting a lightsaber hilt on. Look at that, his dad's lightsaber and his old lightsaber happen to fit perfectly there. But whether he will do this in the movie The Last Jedi or not, we don't yet know. And for comparison, here's Luke with a couple of other Lukes from the Black Series. The Farm Boy Tatooine Luke, and of course good old Bespin Fatigues Luke. Luke now looks a little bit taller than he used to. Probably tall enough to be mistaken for a stormtrooper, actually. But the point is, he looks okay. He's going to look a little bit weird in comparison with other versions of himself, I think, though. So, yeah. Interesting focal point if you can have a little Luke's only display. One thing I did discover that I wasn't expecting while I was mucking around with this figure was that there's an undocumented sound feature. If you bring in a Rey figure, doesn't need to be from The Last Jedi, a Force Awakens one will do, and if you put her next to Luke, Luke will then say every single line that he has in The Force Awakens. Listen. Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that sounds just like him.
Mark?
Oh, I'm sorry, I have dialogue?
Yeah.
I'm used to just staring intensely.
These are my thoughts on Star Wars The Black Series Jedi Master Luke Skywalker. Yeah, I mean, the figure itself is perfectly fine. We don't know if he really should have a lightsaber, but I would have liked to have a lightsaber, looking at it from this perspective of pre-movie release, because he's got the hook and really feel he should have a lightsaber there. The soft goods cloak is particularly difficult to deal with. Pretty much the only way that it's going to do what you want it to is having him standing with his back to you with the hood up. Any other way of arranging this accessory with this figure is going to be a real difficulty, and you may need to modify it to be able to get anything more out of it. Whether this is film accurate or not, I'm not entirely certain. From the looks of the trailers for The Last Jedi, he looks to have a regular Jedi robe, but that may be an entirely different outfit to what we've seen here. This is very much the end of Force Awakens, which we saw him for those handful of seconds, and he didn't really do anything much. So perfect if you want to recreate that aspect of the movie. Another good Luke Skywalker action figure, but I think the accessories and the lack of other weaponry accessories really kind of lets this down a little bit. The base figure itself is perfectly solid, looks cool, good paint application where it needs to be. Articulation is fine, standard sort of hindrance you'd expect from the Jedi robes, but overall nice. Just, that cloak is not fun to deal with. So, let us know what you think down in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and we will see you again, my young Padawans, for more reviews here on Admiralty Entertainment. May the Force be with you.
Mark? Mark?